Now, during last night's presidential debate, the last one, and thank fucking God it's over, Donald Trump had made a very specific attack on Hillary Clinton's position on abortion rights, which she happens to be actually pretty good on. Now, let's take a look at that video, then we'll break it down afterwards.
Well, I think it's terrible. If you go with what Hillary is saying, in the 9th month, you can take the baby and rip the baby out of the womb of the mother just prior to the birth of the baby. Now, you can say that that's okay, and Hillary can say that that's okay, but it's not okay with me. Because based on what she's saying and based on where she's going and where she's been, you can take the baby and rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month on the final day. And that's not acceptable.
Look, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Look, I know, obviously, I'm not a woman, but I just happen to know a little bit about the process because I actually took the time to do some research and look at some facts. And the facts aren't even close to what Donald Trump is saying. In fact, let's go to some actual statistics. Federal government estimates that 91.4% of abortions in the United States are performed in the first 13 weeks of pregnancy. Okay, so that obviously most of them are definitely not late-term abortions. An estimated 1.3% of abortions happen later than 21 weeks into pregnancy. So those are your late-term abortions, right? They're very, very rare, and they should be. Now, it also looked into how many happen in the final day of pregnancy. How many do happen? An estimated 0.0% of abortions happen in the final day or days of pregnancy. In fact, Jennifer Gunter, who is a doctor that performs abortions, she says, quote, "There is no such thing as a 9th month abortion. I'm a doctor who trained in late-term abortions." Well, if you don't believe a doctor, I don't know who you believe on this. Now, Gunter goes on to explain that sometimes obstetricians will induce labor in a late term due to some defects, one being ancephaly. Now, that is basically when, and I may have not said that correctly, but it's when a major portion of the brain is missing, leading to the baby to not being able to survive outside of the womb. Now, however, as she notes, that's actually not considered an abortion. It is induced labor. Basically, you are giving birth to a baby that will not survive. That's not considered an abortion. Now, if you do rip a baby out of the mother's womb, as Trump claims, 3 days or 1 day or 2 days before it was due, well, that's not an abortion either. That's actually called a C-section. Not an abortion, C-section. Now, if you intentionally harm or kill the child after it is removed or while removing, that's also not abortion. That's actually called infanticide. Those are the facts, man. Those are pretty easy to look up. You don't have to be a woman to understand this. So what's Donald Trump's excuse? He doesn't have one. The guy's an idiot. Being a man is no excuse for being completely ignorant on this issue. You can look it up. We have all the facts in front of us that we could ever want. Now, while we will never have to go through this, someone like me, or make this decision myself, which I imagine is incredibly difficult, knowing what I know, and of course, incredibly personal. What we can do as men is just at least know the facts about what an abortion actually entails. And it's not a pretty thing. It's not a great thing. We want less abortions. Everybody wants less abortions. But that involves doing things like sexual education and being able to have everyone access affordable contraception. So those things will reduce abortions. And so, look, you got to look at the facts, regardless of your feelings, because I understand this is a very emotionally charged thing. For both on the pro-life side, also on the pro-choice side, this is a very emotional and a very personal thing. And what we're trying to say in the pro-choice side is that we don't like this as much as you do, But we also say that it's not our decision as a government to tell you what you can do with your body. And so what do some pro-lifers have to do? Well, they have to make things up. They have to make things up like ripping the baby out of the mother on the last day, which doesn't actually happen. And they do this in order to try to get their message across. Look, to those who are pro-life without having to make things up, I understand and I respect your position. But for those who make things up to try to get these laws passed, I don't respect you because you don't respect anyone else. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.